Alright, let's get our brief for today. Welcome back, studs. Welcome back, IPs. Sledges. Shotgun GK, normally you got 2 questions.
Want to choose someone?
Yeah, choose whoever you want.
Alright. Let's see what we got here. Alex, what is the altitude of runway 26? 6,700. Negative. Do you know where to find it? Where else? Ball three. Alright, does anyone know it?
6759?
No.
6'5", yeah, like 5.
No.
6'5", 7'2".
Boom! Alright. Aaron, if I have uncommanded air brake deployment at 95 knots, do I need to declare emergency? Or more than that, do I need to perform a structural damage or shield lift?
No.
Why?
It's not above
B&E?
yeah.
Sweet. No new SRS, no new SRS, and then PM notes, nothing new. First takeoff's gonna be as soon as possible, so 12:30, and then last land. Sorry, that must have just gotten cut off. But it's gonna be 1800. So our last land's gonna be 1800. We're not flying to sunset anymore. Cool. Just one. Cool. So we're gonna for Austin, we're gonna Colonel Cameron get Captain Major Dukala. So it's gonna be Lieutenant Blockman to Lieutenant Kushat. Marshler, Drew, Jaden, Logger is going to be Aiden, Hanger Boss Matt, and then Chainsaw to do it, and then Whip also is going to be Jaden. Can I get a slide, please? Nothing new for SIIs, nothing's changed, so you all should know our 3 SIIs currently. Yeah, slide, please. No new NOTAMs, no TFRs for today. We're going to have 10 sailplanes, 5 tows. This is for USA. 02's currently getting maintenance. Maintenance is working on it, so we might activate the spare. Just keep an ear out for that. Pair is not active today because it's Monday. Howard is active, and then UAS is active. Cool. Today's just gonna be a south flow day. Pretty light winds. I think they're around like 8 to 10 knots right now, so nothing too major. Should be a very beautiful day. Weather, I know that it should start, there should be precip later on in the day, correct, Mary?
Potential for some clouds and precip. It's isolated, so we're gonna hope that it stays clear. Weather thinks that we can fly till the end of our fly period at 1800.
Awesome. Alrighty. So that is.
So no new ops notes. I do want to just piggyback real quick. Did somebody already take over for the logger from this morning for Bella? Can I have somebody go take over for her? Because I know she has to get on that bus. All right, status unrestricted, SCO number 3. And we have a new SCO up there. It's with Second Lieutenant Bachman, so he may change that SCO number. It was for UAS, wind chill, and Howard. Thanks. So anticipate if the wind chill drops out, then it will probably still remain 3 for number of sailplanes. Okay. Runway in use 16, bird watch condition low, no 210s. No DV visits, construction continues, you guys know about that. No other special operations or airfield advisories.
Awesome, thank you. Awesome, students, do you have any questions, comments, concerns? IPs, officers, Sweet. Phrase of the week is fly good, don't suck. So, remember to go get dispatched, go get pumped up. Everyone ready? Ready? Woo!
Ice Lake and then cul-de-sac again. Excuse me, not cul-de-sac, the three intersection north below. It's going to be a normal pattern, extended base pattern, normal pattern, and then pattern for intentional pattern rubber for intentional. Clearing, we're obviously going to use the clock system, low, level, high, factor, non-factor communications. Keep in mind we're a crew, so even though I am instructing you, if we get to the point where we have to work together, we will do so. Transfer aircraft control, obviously shake and take, physiological incident, just let me know if you're feeling anything, I will also let you know, which would be kind of unfortunate. Emergency procedures, crew responsibilities, if, stuff hits the fan, I'll take control and we'll land as soon as conditions permit. Ground egress, you obviously know to open the canopy, step out, go towards the upper wing, egress. All that fun jazz you learned in August. Low altitude rope break, something I always do. Have we flown together before?
No.
Okay. Something I always do is I'll call out 50, 100, 150, 200. Always. You don't have to repeat it if you don't want to. I'll just say 50 feet, and you can say 50 feet. I don't really care. It's good for peace of mind. Force landing procedures. We're in the north flow, so there's actually a lot of good open fields out there, and a lot of emergency landing fields out, like Oak Club and all that.
Yeah.
Recovery bailout procedures, 2,000 feet to initiate it, which honestly, you can go a little lower than that, but that's what's published. Contact soft/go if time and conditions permit. Let's go to the EP of the day real quick. Today is the 18th day of March. Inadvertent flight into AMC. This one's exciting. Let's kind of put aside checklists here. Let's say you're solo or you're with a kid who's just scared out of his mind and you can't access those zebra pages. If you fly into IMC, which means like a cloud, if you will, what do you do?
So you want to get out of it as soon as possible.
Sure, how do you do that?
Just use air brakes to lower yourself out.
You can use air brakes, and then in your checklist procedures, it will tell you, just like conceptually, turn 180 degrees.
Just get away from, go back to where you were because it's a safe area.
Here, the biggest thing I can tell you, just know where the mountains are. Know where the mountains are and turn the other way. Okay? Literally, just know where the mountains, because that's your biggest limiting factor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Alright, so first off, we're checking the wheel well, making sure there's no cracks in it.
Okay.
Then we're looking down the wing to see if we can see any cracks. We're starting at the wing without looking for any dents or
Stop
cracks.
watch for gust spread.
Making sure the paint's lining up. Okay. Making sure that paint's lining up as well. Making sure to keep stuff well clear. Okay. We're going to check inside. Make sure there's no water or objects in there. Okay. Keep filling down the wing root, or filling down the wings. Make sure this is flush. The wing pin. Right on. Make sure that the wing's not going to come off. Spin the wheel. Now we're starting to feel for the tape. Make sure there's no separation in it. Okay. If we get here, making sure the aileron on the other side is moving symmetrical to this one. Sounds good. Continue to look for that tape. And then here we're counting the screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure that this is supposed to be a crescent moon. This one's pretty shallow, not down there.
Yeah, and that was written up in the books, right?
Yeah.
One other thing we want to make sure we're checking is we have our mooring ring back here.
Oh yeah.
Just double check. I forget that one all the time.
Gotcha.
Make sure that it's tight.
Mooring is tight.
Cool.
Got all this already? Yep. Looking down the fuselage for any dents. Checking for any dents. We get here. Clear.
Okay.
We got tape, the ballast, there's no ballast in there, and they wrote that up. Make sure that's flush.
Okay. How far out can we push on this?
6 inches.
Right on.
Then we're checking for tape down the side.
Okay.
Checking for tape up top. Checking for tape up here. We're good on all those.
Yeah. What are the kinds of tape we have?
We have gap tape, sealing tape, and circulator tape.
Okay. Which ones do we have to have to make sure we have them?
But we have to have gap tape and turbulator tape. Good. Wheels just for the performance.
Good. What about this box here?
Standing in
Is tape
between.
required?
Only when we have tail ballast.
Only tail ballast. Good.
Landing between.
Landing in between.
Alright. So next up we're checking the rudder. Takes 20 minutes while we're doing that, checking for this pin and this pin. So the center pin's right there.
Okay.
I'm timing two different up and up here.
Gotcha.
Checking the friction of the elevator.
Yeah, but we also have tape on top too, right? So also show that zigzag in the gap.
Yep. Alright. Coming over on this side, just checking, make sure the tape is still on this side too.
Good. Yep.
Make sure we have our sealing tape on the OMG probe. And then I like to give this a squeeze just because
Okay.
sometimes they're flat.
Yeah, I like that.
Other ones,
Okay.
as they put that
Good. And what type of tape are we doing on the bottom here?
turbulator.
Turbulator tape. Good.
Check for the pins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Checking the deflection on the other side, make sure they're symmetric. Make sure that pin is flush. It's fitting the wheel.
Okay.
I got it. Wing tip is not going to come off.
Okay.
Looking down for any dents again. Make sure that thing lines up. Make sure this thing lines up.
Okay.
Check for the mooring ring.
Good. Yeah, we're also checking that our tires, inflated, no bald spots, things like that too.
We got both yaw strings.
Okay.
Checking the static ports for any debris. Make sure not to touch them.
Okay, good. Why don't we touch those?
Because our fingers have oils that'll clog it.
Okay, good.
Checking the front, checking the grain didn't clog that.
Okay.
Checking this static port. And then I like to finish it by giving this a squeeze. That was good as well.
Awesome. Nice job. That's fair. That's fair.
on takeoff, when we were going, I was off center line, right? And you prompted me multiple times, but I wasn't getting over at all. So it was stable, like we were talking about, and it was not specifically a dangerous situation, but it was the fact that you were telling me to do something, and as a student, I wasn't responding to you. So that should be telling you, hey, my student's not listening to me. So it's okay and it's safe to take that. If they're not within the standards that we're given, then you're okay to take that. Even if you feel like, oh man, I have control. It's not a terrible situation, but you can still take it. And it's good to take it because you have a new student who needs to learn what right looks like. And in that particular situation, right, it wasn't necessarily what right looks like. So you want to show that to them and make sure that they understand that, especially new students. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. But then we were talking about downwind on our second pattern, the landing. So tell me what you thought I was doing wrong on the downwind.
So for a while, we were parallel with the runway.
Yeah.
And there's a few ways of talking to a student about that. One is just watching the runway, or watching the SPLA and making sure you're parallel. But I know that, like, when I was a new student, looking off to the right, I just start flying towards the right.
Yeah.
And when I was asking about your aim point, I didn't clarify that I was talking about what you were aiming at in the downwind and not what your aim point would be on final.
Yeah.
So I was trying to ask about using that plateau, like the left side of that plateau, as an aim point to stay parallel with the SPLA, but we didn't have enough time to talk about that, which is what I mentioned, like, let's talk about it on the ground.
Yeah.
But it wasn't unsafe, and we were starting to turn towards base, so like you said, not mentioning that and then just talking to them about it on the ground could have caused less confusion in the air.
Yeah.
But we were straight in parallel with the SPLA for most of it, and then we just started to angle in, so our turn, rather than being like a 90-degree turn, was just kind of sloping into base.
Yeah. It's kind of going back to the whole, like, we talk about on the ground. One thing, sometimes with patterns are hard because they're so fast, and everything happens so fast, and you're thinking of 1,000 different things. So sometimes, even if you're like, hey, what is your aim point with a new student, sometimes it's better to just be more direct. Be like, see that plateau? Point your nose at it. Yeah, just make it very clear. And those are great things to, like, point out on the ground. So one thing I love to do with new students is to sit out on the SPLA and we watch a pattern, and I'm like, okay, what are they doing now? And I have the student talk me through it, and I have them point me at, like, the geographical things that helps them, because then when they get in the air, some of those things come a little bit further for them.
Yeah. There's a little bit less time to ask questions to get them to realize it, and I should have just been more directive early on.
Yeah, so it kind of helps them learn better, and if they can say it on the ground confidently, then they'll more likely be able to say it in there. But if they're not able to say it on the ground, then you're going to have problems in the air. Yeah.
Okay.